Jerry Jones was leading the room, leading the sales pitch to Randy Gregory on why he wanted him to be a Dallas Cowboy. And then at the last minute, there was some tinkering with the language of the contract. Randy Gregory did not like it, and he moved on. 877-881-1053. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you upset? Are you mad at the Cowboys? Are you mad at Randy Gregory? I'm not mad at Randy Gregory, actually. And it's not because he only had 6 sacks. It's not because he's been injured. I'm not mad at Randy Gregory because if somebody did that in the middle of a contract negotiation with me, I would probably be pretty upset too. You tried to slide this in at the last second and you tried to disrespect me in that way. You weren't being completely honest and forefront with me on this. You say you want me. I'm not mad at him for turning his back and moving on about that because I don't feel like that's good business anyway. And I think I've always approached it this way, Mike, when it comes to players versus owners versus players versus whoever. I always try to stay on players' side because I'm a player in this situation. I will have that kind of moment. You out there, you may be a business owner. You could be an employee. But at some point, somebody's going to try and tell you you're not worth it or you're not worth this or that, and they're going to try and show you that you can continue to do the work that you think you're more valuable for less. And not that it was the money situation here, but he didn't like a certain piece of the language that protected the Cowboys. So I was just kind of asking, 877-881-1053, are you okay with Randy Gregory turning his back on the Cowboys? Are you more upset at the Cowboys or at Randy Gregory here?
I'm really not upset at anybody. Randy did what he felt like was best for him. The Cowboys put in something in the contract that they thought was best for them. I think Randy Gregory is an above average defensive end, but he's not a Pro Bowler. He's not an all-pro. He's solid. He's good. I would have liked to have him back, but I don't think it's the end of the world that the Cowboys lost Randy Gregory.
Right.
And so, okay, move on, move forward. Hopefully you draft a guy or somebody steps up who you have drafted that can play that role. Randy misses 4 to 6 games per year, taking out the drug stuff. His body fails him every single year in really contributing for 16, 17 games. And I get how tough it is in the NFL to stay healthy. And he's proven that he can't stay healthy for a season. So would I have liked to have him back on a 2-year guaranteed contract that when he's 31, 32 years old, you can release and have no money guaranteed to him and it's a free release? Yeah, I would like to have that. I think it would have been a good signing, a fine signing. But I also don't think it's the end of the world that Randy Gregory is not on the Dallas Cowboys because he's not DeMarcus Ware. I mean, I know that some people are like, you mean DeMarcus Lawrence? No, I mean, he's solid. He's good. And I get that's what people are getting in the free agent market. But I just don't feel like, maybe I'm wrong on this. I just don't feel like Randy Gregory is a huge difference maker. He's better than average at the position. And trying to find better than average is not easy, but he's not special to me. He's solid. He's a solid starting defensive end, not a special defensive end.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he flashes at times that you're like, okay, that's what that guy can be. But on the field, I guess my biggest problem, though, is that we got a small sample of how good that trio could be on the field together with Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons. We got to see it, man, in those Washington games, and seeing that Sheriff was going somewhere else, that made me even happier. I was like, dude, they're going to destroy whoever the quarterback is in Washington, and it's going to be Carson Wentz. I was excited about that, but I can't be mad at him for that. I agree with you, though. I've only seen the flashes of this. I do wonder, I'd love to know this, I don't know if it was in the cuts, if any of the conversation of, hey, you're going to save us money, and we're going to be able to use that money to help the rest of the defense by restructuring your contract, DeMarcus. I wonder if they told him we want to try to bring Randy back. And if that made a difference to him. He was like, oh, man, this defensive front can be very, very good. And Randy on that other side, that helped me out this year. It helped me be better this year. And I could go out there this year with a full season of this. We're going to be healthy. If he was thinking that this defense was going to look a little bit different. So I do wonder if that was the case. But Mike, there's no doubt in my mind. I want the one guy that can do all the things that DeMarcus Lawrence can do. The other thing, though, is I need somebody that can do what Randy Gregory's potential is supposed to be. My problem is it was just potential a lot of times. So the Cowboys have to find the replacement for that side, the ability to get that kind of edge rush from somewhere. Whether it's Micah, whether it's Chandler Jones, whether it's Von Miller, if it's Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know that Jadeveon Clowney is my first choice. And Von Miller is 33. I mean, that's
right.
And there's these. You want to find a young edge rusher. That's what the Cowboys want. I do wonder if their draft needs change because we were discussing this morning. Offensive line is huge. I mean, you just lost Connor Williams.
And most likely Lyle Collins, right?
And most likely you're releasing Lyle Collins. You're intentionally moving on from him unless somebody comes in with a last-minute white horse trade for you. But at the moment, your offensive line is biggest need. Does that change now that Randy Gregory's not in the fold? Does edge rusher become a more important piece? Because we've discussed that to its extent. If you do, say Micah Parsons goes there, you have no linebackers. I'm starting to get more upset now at Steven.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually like, the more I think about this, the more like this hurts on so many different levels. And it's not like my emotions towards Randy. That's not what I'm concerned about here. Every time you go pitch to somebody, you're going to have somebody sitting across the table from you that's going, you're that dude. You're the dude that tried to sneak in here and do something like that. And that's going to hurt. Like that already hurts like free agency anyway, but even re-signing your own guys, that's going to hurt your ability to get a lot of things done because nobody wants to trust you now. You screwed this up on a level with one player that I don't think you needed to do this with. And now other agents are going to be sitting there looking at you sideways, knowing that you're probably on the other side going to try something tricky at the last second just to get over on somebody. And this is really starting to make me even more mad because I don't think it was necessary to do this. Cowboys were trying to protect themselves with some language in the contract, and they tinkered with it at the last second, and now you don't have the player, and I'm wondering if this is going to hurt you trying to get another player in here, and other guys are going to sit there and say, well, now you've lost the leverage on us anyway. If it was Bobby Wagner, okay, $10 million, bump it up to 12.
I don't think so. Look, here's the deal, and I know people don't want to hear this because there's a lot of Randy Gregory fans out there, and that's fine, man. Be a Randy Gregory fan. We don't know everything that they had to deal with Randy. We think we do. And I'm not saying that it was better or worse, but I do know this. When the Angels signed Josh Hamilton, they're like, we got to do all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? And pretty much is like, yeah. And if you don't babysit him, you're going to run into issues. Now, I know it's different. Okay. I know that Josh Hamilton and Randy Gregory are totally different people dealing with different issues in their lives. But when you look at what happened to the Angels, they were like, crap, we have to babysit you like you're a 5-year-old child who we've put a whole bunch of razors and guns around. And like, yes, pretty much. Because if you leave me by myself, I will take all the razors and I'll take all the guns and we'll see what happens. And so I would say with Randy Gregory, I'm not making an excuse for the Cowboys. They're like, good job, Dallas Cowboys. But sometimes you don't know what you're dealing with until you have to truly deal with that person. And for the Denver Broncos, I'm sure their hope is that we just signed a good player who we treat like an adult and we say, show up to practice your butt off, do all your stuff that you need to do off the field to be ready to play on Sunday, and everything will be great. And then I would say, man, he's an easy guy to handle. But sometimes with players that have been babysat from age 21 to 29, sometimes if you say, all right, we're not going to babysit you, it doesn't end up great. And I don't know everything about the Randy Gregory story. I don't know how much the Cowboys were or were not babysitting him. I do know how much Josh Hamilton was getting babysitted.
And Mike, I think that's a valid point, but the tough part about that is it looks like the Cowboys were all in on doing whatever that was that needed to be done. but you tried to slide this in on the sly, right? If you had these concerns, I would have imagined that you would have had this as conversations throughout the process of making a deal, trying to put in those protections at the back end. And I don't blame them for wanting those protections, but I think that the way that at least it's been portrayed thus far is that the Cowboys went through, figured out a deal, and then right at the end we're like, hey, but we need these protections right fast. It felt like there wasn't a level of respect there, at least in the way that it was dealt with. So I get it. They might have had a whole bunch of things, a whole hell of a things that have been hellacious for them to deal with. But I think you could be upfront about those things. I think the problem is, and I think Corey is absolutely right with this, now you have hurt your credibility. And you mentioned how Patrick Walker had tweeted about that Jerry Jones was passionate about getting this deal done, largely responsible for it coming together. And then after the agreement, something changed and it wasn't on Jerry. That shows a lack of alignment in that front office that I think everybody's got to question. Us, any player that walks in that has any opportunity to negotiate with them. How do I know that this organization is all on the same page or in the same accord when they can find a way to do something like this with a player that supposedly they want back real bad, you know?
Yeah, that's the part that kind of irks me a lot on that front is now you have to regain trust with other people to make your team better. Here's the deal. And I just wanted to check. I kept bringing up in my mind Zadarius Smith's name kept popping in, and I was like, but I just saw that he was expected to go back to the Packers. Zadarius Smith's another name too. He was, for the purposes of the Green Bay Packers, he was as huge of a, maybe not to broadest, but as big of a signing as they'd had since Reggie White. He was that big of an impact for them. Can he replicate that with another team? And so there are plenty of options out there. If the Cowboys go out and get Von Miller, if they go out and get Chandler Jones, if they get a Zadarius Smith, would that make you happy? Would that make you happier than if they had gotten Randy Gregory?